It's the 7th race weekend of the BMW IBSF Bobsleigh and Skeleton World Cup Series for 21-22. We are 1 weekend away from the end of the regular season and a month out of the Winter Olympic Games. Winter has arrived in Germany's Hochsauerland as well as we get ready for the first action of the weekend. And Friday morning in Winterberg for the second time this year means men's skeleton. I'm Martin Haven, joining me is Greg West. And Greg, this track, well known, but still tough to get the best out of.
What is the old Yogi Berra quote? Deja vu all over again. I feel like we were just here. So welcome back to sunny Winterberg again. Looks like we might have a winter weather affected race today here in the Sauerland. This track is very interesting, and it starts right off the top with the aptly named corner 0, because if you mess that up, you have 0 chance of getting in the medals today. It's goes straight into this uphill section going through turn 2, and you must carry speed through this big omega that is turn 2. Then we come into one of the more technical parts of the track, and this 3, 4, 5 section. It's very flat through here. Subtle as everything. If you see toes, that's bad. If you see skids, that's worse. You just want to build speed coming into the Kreisel here. 270 degrees, 2 pressures. You'll see the sled rise once, dip once, and rise once before coming out on the end. Anything more than that, probably not the best. You want to sneak it through here into turn 9, not clipping on the slider's right wall. And this is where the bottom falls out. All of a sudden, you're going from lolling around at 45, 50 miles an hour up to near 80 miles an hour through turns 12, 13, and 14. Big elevation increase through the finish curve here, 65 feet uphill and across the finish line. Pretty good chance to see some drama there on the exit of the finish curve as well, the old victory roll.
Yeah, often is. Our track record holder and our start record holder, Axel JunkerGER, rejoins us after stepping away last weekend in Sigulda. Christopher Grote here is our World Cup points leader, has been on the podium everywhere but Sigulda last week. And the last time we were here, he took a bronze medal. Martin Dukurs looking for his 60th World Cup win, which should have come last weekend, but he popped the groove on his home track, and so his brother Thomas was the winner 18 years after he first won a World Cup race in Sigulda. Well, 20 years and a month since Martin Dukurs made his World Cup debut here. He returns and is still the man to beat. Everybody else, of course, finalising their preparations. And Greg, you've been at this stage of the season. This is where it's sort of achieving critical mass, basically before the A-bomb goes off, right?
Yeah, there's 2 ways of looking at this. And I was just going through the points before the broadcast today. There is, oh my gosh, there's 2 weeks left until I either am or I'm not going to be in the Olympics. Or there's the, well, there's still a quarter of the season left. We have today and then we have next week as well. So depending on how you want to frame that discussion, you have 2 options available to you.
Well, that is, that's the chimp quandary, isn't it? Whether you can persuade your brain to regard everything in the correct manner for positive results. Race 7 of the BMW IBSF Men's Skeleton World Cup. We're back in Winterberg, getting underway with Great Britain's Lawrence Bostock making his 3rd World Cup appearance. The 22-year-old from Sheffield was here in November in Europa Cup, but his only World Cup race starts have both been in St. Moritz. Could hardly be any more different here.
Yeah, slightly different driving style here in Winterberg. Pretty decent run through the top of the track. And Lawrence is going to set the pace. He's going to be the rabbit for the people to chase. For those of you unfamiliar with how the starting draw system works in Skeleton, the first 3 sleds are drawn from the back of the field for those in points. And so they kind of set the bar, but that 4th, 5th, and 6th sled is really where you see how much pace the track has in it. Lawrence has a great chance, especially with some winter weather in the area today, to take advantage of some good ice and get a good chance for a result.
Yeah, there is a little snow in the air. Lawrence has been racing on the Intercontinental Cup, which is the 2nd tier of sliding. He's here because Matt Weston is in Altenburg, where there is a double ICC race. Now, you only get about half the points, but you get twice the opportunity to earn them, and there's no Tretiakov and no Dukurs brothers and all the others. So Matt Weston looking for points to qualify sleds for Great Britain. 58.75 for Lawrence, so that is the benchmark right now. 55.5 exactly is the track record, so 3 1/4 seconds away from that. Part of that is Lawrence, part of that is conditions.
Yeah, Lawrence had a pretty good run here. You see the snow coming down, though, and that is going to play a factor here. As you watch him on the start ramp, it does not allow the sled to build speed like you want. And for the most part, this is a really good run. A couple places you see elbows come out a little bit. You can tell he's muscling the sled. He doesn't have a lot of World Cup starts. It's late in Olympic year, you know, throwing a Hail Mary, trying to make the team. But a pretty good run. I think he'll be happy with that, and I think he has a decent shot at making the field.
Well, 29 sleds, so a third of the athletes won't get a second run. JeanJacques from Switzerland, his third World Cup start as well. This 24-year-old raced in Samoritz and Innsbruck last year to 16th and 21st. One of a pair of sliding brothers. His younger brother, Vincent, is just 20, also slide skeleton for Switzerland.
So Booth can do 5:34, so he's back on the start. But the good thing about Winterberg, for those that don't have great start times, is if you nail corner zero like he did, you mitigate a lot of that. You can crawl back maybe a tenth or two. So a pretty good top third of the section, or top third of the track for Booth right now.
Lots of the shades are drawn to stop snow blowing in. But you can see in a few places there is snow lying in the straight. Of course, in the banked corners, there's a roof overhanging, so you tend not to get the snow there. Round through this corner 7 Kreisel, 270 degrees. Still on the back foot, but now here he comes.
Nice looking run through the middle of the track. That's very impressive from a slider I'm not super familiar with. Going through 11, he's clean. Now, it was kind of a cowboy ride through 13, 14 last time we were here. If you wanted to go fast, it doesn't look like the ice is going to require that. But good speed all the way down for the Swissman, and he's got the lead by a second.
Well, they had a World Cup luge race here last week in Winterberg, and that means the corners have been shaped much more round than you would often have for bobsleigh and skeleton, so it'll be a little more forgiving. But JeanJacques, well, his name works perfectly if you've had a bad ride. Oh, there he is.
Yeah, going racing right after luge comes to the track is always fun because things just seemed a little bit easier. But solid lines for Booth all the way down the track. There really would be nitpicky. He's super relaxed, back on the start time. If he can figure out a way to get that start a little bit more competitive for the next quad, he could be a factor for sure.
So 2 young sliders with only 6 starts between them. Andr Mornville of Spain, 42 years old now. This is his 90th World Cup start. His 10th on this track. Last 3, he was 15th, 17th and 17th. He's been racing in North America and on the ICC. His last World Cup was January last year in Innsbruck. Let's see what he's got today.
5:39. Of course, you know, Andr is father time. I believe he's the elder statesman on the Men's World Cup tour. But a very experienced athlete. I remember watching him before I even got started in skeleton, racing the Olympics in 2010 in Vancouver. He's a heck of a pilot, just super smooth. He's seen everything, he's done everything. And a good looking run right now. He's 2/10 back on Booth, so we got a little bit of a race, down on speed a bit, but Andr tends to make his speed late. He knows how to build speed.
Yeah, knows his track inside out. Still second best speed, so he's ahead of Lawrence Bostock of Great Britain at the moment. Looking to make the cut here and get that second run. And he is currently building a new Spanish skeleton team. Spent the last 2 or 3 years doing that, bringing on new athletes. That's the legacy he wants in the sport. 58.80. So 500s behind Lawrence Bostock at the line. It's going to be tough, I think, unless the snow really has an effect for him to make a second heat from there. Shakes his head.
Somebody's going to come up the outrun. Somebody's going to come up the outrun and throw a snowball at the camera. I'm calling it right now. If you're not happy with your run, that's the move. See Andr here. Once again, this is a lot of real subtle stuff here. A little high on the exit of 11. Didn't see that in the live pictures. That definitely cost some time, but not as much as you would think. We saw that in the last time we were here, you can be rough 13 into 14 there and still be fast, but this was start time.
He's a new dad, or relatively new dad, 2 years old now, his son. So he's got fatherhood and leading the Spanish program into the next quad as well to think about. Next up, Axel JunkerGER, silver medalist last time out here. This is his 55th World Cup start, beg your pardon. 3rd silver medal on the track last month. He's also got a bronze here and was a race winner in Altenburg, his home ice, just a few weeks ago.
This will be where we really see what the track has in it. German athletes are going to set the tone. 5:06, so a lot faster off the top. And the snow between corner 0 and corner 1, I think, is actually making it significantly easier to not have issues there. So that's nice for a lot of the athletes, because that is an Achilles heel on this track. He's got 4/10 in the bank. You can expect that to grow. He has the fastest start we've seen, and he's one of the best drivers on tour. Great equipment, tons of experience. And yeah, we're going to watch him pull away here if all things being equal. Fastest speed goes to Heisel.
Lots of medals on this track, has yet to claim a gold.
That 95.8 going in. Now, comparison to when we were here a few weeks ago, speeds going into turn 9 were 99 kilometers an hour. So they're down about 4 kilometers an hour based off the ice conditions in the snow. A little bit of a little leg whip there on the exit of the finish curve, but 57.84 covers it by a half second, which means he gave away a little bit of time there at the end. He was up by 46 hundredths. He gave away 3 whole hundredths of a second to himself, but I think he'll be pretty happy with that.
Yeah, Coach doing that comme ci, comme ça move there, so maybe he was expecting a little more.
See Axel going through there. It's just super relaxed. Exit of turn 12, a little high. We're going to see that from the faster sliders. It's going to be a little bit rough through there. And then exit of turn 14, that's kind of the line. Because by the time the sled settles down, you're already across the finish line. It's faster to kind of flop than to steer it clean.
Now, that's unusual to see that tunnel at the end of the track. It's like they're coming out the tunnel in Monaco for motorsport fans. We don't normally see that. Next up, Gwang Wang CHN of China, 8th place here in the December race. He was his 25th World Cup, is also his 4th start here. And 8th place a month ago is his best ever Winterberg result.
He's having a heck of a season. Best season he's ever had. 5:06 start time. He's having to work a little bit, 0 to 1. So what we're going to see now...
Matches Axel JunkerGER at the start there.
What we're going to see now that we have some, the heart of the field are these little things, like that little bit of steering he did between 0 and 1 is going to affect the speed into that big uphill in turn 2, and we're going to be able to start to draw some parallels on what is good and what is bad. Dead heat right now, but he's down a little bit in speed, but it's pretty close. He's a really good 7, 8, 9 here if he wants to be the leader. Green numbers. Fastest speed through turn 9, 96 kilometers an hour. He's up an entire kilometer on Axel. So all things being equal here, he should pull away and be your leader up to 200s. But only the 4th fastest speed. He's going to make a liar out of Martin.
And across the line, here's 100th back. That's Dukurs CHN, a man who knows all about this track as well. So 57.84 for Axel JunkerGER, 57.85 for Gwang Wang CHN, and Gwang became a World Cup winner for the first time this season in Innsbruck, tied with the absent from here, Matt Weston.
Gang made a liar out of me at the bottom of the track. He had great speed, and then I forgot that the Germans have that, called the Austrian time warp from Eagles, but they know how to get through that last corner. And all of a sudden, he went from being super up on speed to only the 4th fastest speed through this 65-foot vertical elevation gain going into the final corner, and it cost him by just 100.
Good morning to North Carolina's most dedicated sliding fan, Ken Childs, who reminds us that Jean-Jacques Buff is Switzerland's national champion. The national championships were held last week in St. Moritz, so Ronald Arderset wasn't there. Well, next up is Martins Dukurs, 140th World Cup start. Hasn't won here since 2016-17 season, so his run of 8 wins has been interrupted by Sungbin and Axel Tretiakov, who've won the last 5 outings.
4:93 start time from Superman. And for those of you that are, once again, unfamiliar with the sport, maybe you're just getting into it before the games, this is the guy that just does everything. He's won more races than anybody. He's started as many more races than almost anybody. But it's beautiful watching Martin slide because you can't really see what he's doing. He is so subtle, but because of that, he doesn't cut much ice. and he builds tons of speed down the track. Fastest speed, right on cue, going through turn 9, 96 kilometers an hour.
His World Cup debut was here in December 2000. That's how long he's been sliding this track. 33 hundredths up. Wow, what a run.
Your leader by almost 0.3 of a second, 28 hundredths in the bank at the bottom. And that's a number that people are going to be chasing. That's the one that's like is going to stand for a bit, most likely. I mean, there's still plenty of power coming. I say that with you know, got other Dukurs and 3 Russians in a row, 11, 12, 13. But that will definitely be the benchmark and puts him in position to be in contention for medals.
He's got 8 wins here, including the 2015 world champion on this track, 7 World Cup wins, 2 silvers, 2 bronzes, but without a win since 2017. Well, Greg, after last week's disappointment where he popped the groove in Sigulda on his way to victory at home, he will be doubly anxious to get a win here, but there's plenty of opposition. Christopher Grote here wearing the yellow jersey of our World Cup points leader. 56 World Cup race for him, his 8th here. And he finished in the bronze medal position in 2012 and in 2021, our last race here, 9 years and 3 days apart. That's a pretty long career already for Grote here.
It looks like he's about 12.
Still, yeah.
Getaway for 503 getaway for Chris. So pretty solid getaway. Giving up a 10th to Martins though at the top, and that's not something you want to do, is give up time to Martins Dukurs. But Chris has a ton of runs here. It's back 13 hundredths of a second. We'll see that probably grow out to about 2 tenths, and then we'll see whether he can pull it back. The Germans are great at bringing back the lead lane. Second run into Kreisel, but he's only at the 4th fastest speed. That's a little bit surprising for Chris. He's usually up there in the top 3. And only the 4th fastest speed through turn 9.
All sorts of changes in the German lineup in terms of their equipment over the last few seasons. Most of them are now sliding on FES sleds built in Berlin. We make the bobsleds as well. Whereas a lot of them on before were on Dirk Matchen's built sleds. 57.84 leaves him a 1/3 of a second back. So he's with the pack. How far ahead is Martins Dukurs? He's tied with Axel Junk. And of course, part of the battle now, Greg, as you rightly say, 1/4 of the season left. I hadn't really thought of that because it's only 2 weeks. But part of the battle is to be the top German, the 2nd German, the 3rd German, because we assume that Germany will undoubtedly get 3 sleds in the games.
Yeah, Germany looking real strong for 3 sleds of the games. I mean, it looks like it's going to be Axel, Chris, and Gassner. But it's a pretty good run here from Grote here. I mean, he's back on the start, a 10th up on Dukurs. We say a 10th of the start's 3 tenths of the bottom. Well, he's back a 10th of the start, it's 28 hundredths of the bottom. So that was start differential, solid run, hard to pick it apart, and it's funny that he's tied with his teammate. It's the 100th.
Jung Seung-gi of Korea next up, tied for 11th place here last time out. 22-year-old, his 3rd World Cup start. Had 2 Intercontinental Cup podiums here on his visit in 2018, so he clearly knows how to race this track. And the start never hurts.
498 getaway from Young. Had a chance to fight for a victory last week in Sigulda. That'll just make you hungry right there.
Yeah.
But he's back 15 hundredths of a second on Dukurs, but he has a chance, once again, to reel some of that in. Koreans have been pretty strong this year. All 3 of the top Koreans have been right in the mix. But only the 6th fastest speed going into Kreisel. Martins, this could be one of those things where, is the track starting to go away? We've had winter weather, there's no sheen, there's no sprints left, and now only the 7th fastest speed out of 8 sleds.
Yeah.
I mean, that's slower than some of our, the first 3 guys. Nothing against them, but not something you would expect.
No, exactly right. And still the 7th best speed from Jung, 58.41. Well, it doesn't answer many questions, does it? The Koreans and their sled builder Richard Bromley have just been a little missing their swing a little this season. And although the potential, I mean, Jung, no question, he's a potential race winner. You know, in the next quad, Sungbin Young is going to have all he can do to hold this kid off. But right now, they just seem to be slightly missing something.
Yeah, a little bit off there on the exit of the Kreisel. Sled got picked up just a little bit, but that's not indicative of being back, you know, 8500ths of a second. We didn't see any major dramas here. You know, we say a lot of times we see really nice drives, and they're like, well, they were 1500s or 2/10 off at the start. That was not the case here. So I'm curious if it's either A, did they just miss it on the sled setup? B, was it just tight, we didn't see it? Or C, is the track going away a little bit?
Yeah, well, once we get to Alexander Tretiakov, we will have a definitive answer. But Alexander Gassner should give us a clue as well. It's his 8th World Cup here. His 3rd ever World Cup race was here in December 2011, over a decade ago. 3rd in January 2021. He's got medal potential.
508 getaway, so not what you call the most competitive start, but the 2nd fastest speed on the exit of corner 0. So he handled corner 0 well. Anybody that wants to know how to get through there clean might want to go back and watch whatever Gassner did, because he mitigated the start deficiency with a nice drive. 1700ths of a second back. He's already stopped the bleeding, it looks like. 2nd fastest speed through the Kreisel, so that answers a couple questions.
1600s away.
Turn 9.
Yeah, best speed of all, Alexander Gassner. So the track is holding up. He was 1500s behind at the start, 1900s behind at the moment. Only the 7th best speed, but it could be just a 1/10 of a kilometre an hour away. 2200s back at the line, so 57.78 slide, and that leaves him in 2nd place, best of the 3 Germans, ahead of Axel Junk and Christopher Grote here, who are tied 600s behind them. I tell you what, if you're the German coach, you've got 3 sliders tied 600ths of a second apart, you know you are doing everything right. These guys could be massive medal threats in Beijing in a month's time.
Yeah, I just like seeing, once again, great drive by Gassner, but I like seeing that the track didn't go away that quick. That would be a little bit concerning when you have people fighting for Olympic spots. You want to see the most fair race possible.
Yeah,
and that just tells you that there's still plenty of speed in the track.
Let's hope so, because next up is our most recent race winner. And actually, I think the earliest race winner in the entire field. I'm sure Thomas won before Martins did and before Alexander Tretiakov did. Last week's winner in Sigulda, 18 years after his previous win there. 140th World Cup start for the 40-year-old. And the way that he was talking after the race win last week, they don't show much of a sign of retiring.
It is the family business. 501 getaway from Thomas. They're definitely not
too young to take over yet.
Yeah, happy to see him win last week. You could see the smile on his face even with the mask. He couldn't hide it. I mean, obviously you don't want to see your brother pop the groove, but you like winning a World Cup race at home. That's pretty cool. Yeah. He's up 200ths of a second right now on his brother, so he's got something right, bringing some momentum. Fastest speed through the Kreisel. He's fired up. After winning last week, he wants to do it again.
Well, nearly half a kilometre an hour quicker through the Kreisel as well. Speed drops away a fraction behind Alexander Gassner, but he is still ahead of Martins. Is this going to be another family 1-2, but with Thomas in front at the line?
He's fired up. I love it.
Oh,
he wants to do it again.
Well, listen, we gave away 3 gold medals to 3 different nationalities in Innsbruck. Giving away 2 golds to the same family here, that would be another piece of history. It has never happened before.
Watching Thomas in the start ramp here, it's a little more difficult for him. He's what, probably 3 or 4 inches taller than his brother, so he has to bend over a lot more to get to the sled. He was back 800ths of a second on the start, which means he drove around his brother to tie him. An incredible drive, you know, probably one of the best drives we're going to see all day. You cannot do it much better than that. Nice run from Dukurs. Both of them.
Yeah, absolutely right. So Joint leaders are Martins and Thomas Dukurs from Alexander Gassner, Axel JunkerGER and Christopher Groteher. So 2 ties in the top 4. Gwang Wang CHN next up, and JeanJacques 7th place out of the top 10. Looks like he might make the race. But here's the man who has 2 consecutive wins, has won 3 out of the last 4, won as long ago as 2006. Alexander Tretiakov with a great start.
489, fastest start of the competition, and then also doesn't throw it away in corner 0, has the fastest speed on the exit. That is much easier said than done. So he's got 0.08 of a second gap. That'll probably grow up to about 0.12 to the next split, and then we'll find out just how good Martins and Thomas drove.
Haven't worked out where he has won most medals, but he's got 4 of his 22 World Cup wins on this track, 3 in the last 4 outings. Tretiakov definitely is dialed into this place.
Well, he's up big right now, 0.16 of a second fastest speed through the middle of the track, pulling out to a 2/10 lead. Only the 4th fastest speed in 14. It does not matter, though. New leader by 1/4 of a second.
That is another epic run from Alexander Tretiakov. The track record 55.50. We're 1.8 seconds away, but he is well clear of the field.
Well, that shows you why they call him the Russian Rocket. 489. That'll be a tough start, although to surpass. Although we got 2 people in the field that can get close still. But what's key here at this Winterberg track is this entrance to corner 0. It's kind of hard to see from that angle, but that's where start times go to die. And he did it as well as anybody and maintained that momentum through the top of the track. And that's a big portion of why he's your leader.
He is just about unbeatable on this track in the current form. Well, next up is his younger rival, Nikita Tretiakov. When we were in Sochi 6 years ago, he was pointing at Tretiakov going, that guy's going to be a lot of trouble for me. He's young, he's fast. He is young, he is fast. He's only got 10 World Cup medals, only 1 win in his career. He's sort of hit a bit of a stasis ceiling. He's got yay far and no further, and doesn't start as quick as a man who's a decade older than him anymore.
5 seconds flat, but he does it really well through corner 0. So even though he doesn't have the fastest start time, he maintains speed like his teammate. That's incredibly difficult to do, and that's going to help his cause. Watching through the 4, 5, 6 section, 0.16 of a second back. So he has stopped the bleeding. 4th on the splits right now, but only the 5th fastest speed through Kreisel. Got a chance here to still be in the top 5, but he needs to have a really good bottom of the track. The 6th fastest speed through 9 isn't going to help. He's back 1/4 of a second.
Well, 1/4 of a second could still put him in 2nd place. He's dropped behind the Dukurs brothers, but 4th place, the tyre, Alexander Gassner rather, is 1/2 a second back, so he moves in front of him. So we've got 2 Russians and 2 Latvians in the top 4.
Now, pretty solid drive there from Tretiakov. Just a couple of little things. I think they may have, they obviously did something different with the runner setup compared to his teammate because the speeds weren't there, especially down the track. But if you're sitting in 4th place with a tie in front of you, you have a chance to get a medal. But look at this, going down the start group because of the snow. He has snowplow on the start. That explains his 5-second flat start time compared to some of the faster people.
Glass half full, Martin.
Glass half full.
Everybody's using that left-hand groove as the athlete looks at it, because the right-hand one is now full of snow. But he's in 4th place, which is his best result here ever. Vladislav Seminole, 8th World Cup start for the 24-year-old now. This is a young man who might really be able to challenge Tretiakov in a year or 2. Raced here in the ICC 2018, Europa Cup 2019. Raced here in December, his World Cup debut. So this is his 2nd ever World Cup run on this track. It's about where the Germans were. Seminole having a really good season.
a really coming out party. He's solidified that third spot for the Russians. Looks like he's going to make his first Olympic team this year. Yeah. Just a couple of little things, hanging up on a couple of exits. Right now, 5th on the splits, but 4th fastest speed going through Kreisel. I think his targets, where his teammates are looking for medals, you know, he's in that looking for top 5, top 8 kind of thing. And he's doing a pretty good job of it, though. 2nd fastest speed through Kreisel, that's going to help his cause. 5th on the splits, we'll see where he ends up.
3100s back, he'll be ahead of Nikita Tretiakov at this rate. No, just behind him. It's going to be close, though. How close? He is ahead of him by 100th of a second. He found it in the final corner. 100th.
He's going to look back at this and say, yeah, I'm fighting for more than top 5, buddy.
And, you know, he's only 2 years younger than Tretiakov, but he sort of seems like the next generation. Behind Tretiakov and Tretiakov, there have been 3 or 4 or 5 or 6 Russian sliders that we've seen sort of come in and disappear and come in and disappear. If he sticks around next year, I think he could be a major threat for Russia.
Hung up the exit of turn 4 there just a little bit, but it set him up nicely. We see him here in turn 11, and nice and relaxed. We don't see elbows out. If you don't see elbows sticking outside of the sled very much, you know that they're relaxed, and that's how you build speed.
13th last time. Nikita Tretiakov in 5th, Vladislav Seminole in 4th. So next up, Sammy Meyer of Austria, 22-year-old in his 4th World Cup start here. He was 20th in the December race. So his results here, 29th, 10th and 20th. He's raced here at all levels, Europe Cup, Intercontinental Cup and in the Junior Worlds.
Sammy, another one of those athletes having a pretty good Olympic season, but he's always back on the starts. 5:19, not unexpected, but the 5th fastest speed going through corner 0, and that's what I'm talking about. Even though he had the slowest start time for the entire competition thus far, having the 5th fastest speed through corner 0 mitigates that. It almost completely stops the bleeding and gives him a chance to drive into the race, and that's what he does. He talks about Austrian gliders, and he's one of them. 8th fastest speed into the Kreisel.
A little bit of toe action coming into the Kreisel as well. Let's see what the speed's like on the way out. Sammy Meyer currently in the top 10 of the 12th best start, but he lost ground from 6 to 7 down into the Kreisel. Needs to find more pace.
A little bit of a rough run by Sammy's standards. You know, he's known for just being super precise.
Yeah, top 10 place for him. Well, his best ever result on this track is a 10th, but yeah, little mistakes above the Kreisel. This kind of cost him speed you can't really find again.
Yeah, he knew it. You saw him when he crossed the finish line. He shook his head. It's a couple little things. There's nothing huge here. It's Winterberg. They have to be so subtle. You see he's just on the wrong side of the track there coming in, hangs up the exit going into Kreisel, and he's fighting it off that wall. You can really see he's working the sled. He makes it work, but there was a lot of sled input in there. Just some little things. He knows it. He should have a chance for a second run out of though. That's definitely not what you want to do going into 14.
Yeah, not working well for him. But top 10 at the moment. So next up, Sunbin Young. He's had 2 wins here. 2017-18 season ahead of Martin Dukurs and Dave Cheshin, who's here coaching the Chinese. He was a winner in 2019-20 ahead of Axel JunkerGER and Alexander Gassner. What has the Olympic champion got as we are 2 weeks out from the end of qualification?
495 getaway, that's what we expect from your Olympic champion, reigning Olympic champion, I should say. Nice looking run through 0, 1, 2, and 3. This is where you have to be super subtle. If you're gonna go medal hunting, you should not be able to see any input in the sled in this top third of the track. Looking pretty good so far. Only the 12th fastest speed through the Kreisel though. And this is something, Martin, you and I have talked about. He has just not had the speed this entire season. It's a little surprising because we're used to seeing him in the top 3 on the time charts.
Yeah, it's a little bit of a question. They had a major problem early in the year before Christmas when their sleds didn't get back from China for a couple of weeks, and they were having to piece together bits and pieces to make new sleds for the entire team. There's Richard Bromley, a little bit of snow coming down as well. And that's not going to be a benefit for anybody.
Yeah, the snow is not helping, but I didn't see anything glaring there. To be back in 10th after 15 sleds. Good looking start.
Yep.
Did not
Nothing
see
wrong
any
with that.
problems there.
495 is hitting the numbers.
You see the little toe action there. That was him setting up for corner zero. I think that was on purpose. I wouldn't mark that as a negative. And this is clean through here. He's not, it doesn't look like he's overworking the sled. He's an incredibly subtle driver. He's adept. He can just steer with a wink and a nod. You can see the body's super relaxed. I don't know if it, once again, this late in the run, it could be track, but I think they've just been really struggling with the sled.
So 15th of our 29 sliders is down. We are into the second part of the field. Alexander Tretiakov, the leader, by a quarter of a second. 16th starter of 29 here in Winterberg, race 7 of the BMW IBSF Men's Skeleton World Cup. Kim Ji-soo of Korea, his 3rd World Cup race here, his best result, 6th position. That's his 2nd best in any World Cup race. Martin Haven and Greg West watching the Koreans start away.
Nice run through corner zero. I was just noticing the sky opened up over the start ramp, but then he goes and has the fastest speed through corner zero. So he's doing something right. He's got the lead at the moment. Wow. And as I say that, it goes red numbers. I'm just jinxing everybody today. I should just not talk. Sorry, everybody.
489 getaway. Yeah, Tretiakov had much better speed there. Tretiakov quicker, lower down as well, so the gap opens up. But this could still be a top 4 run. Let's see what he's got.
Falling back away now, 14th fastest speed out of 15 sleds. The bottom, look at the snow. This is going to start to affect things now. There were some things he could have cleaned up there, but he would have needed a snow plow at the bottom. Look at it come down now.
700s quicker than his teammate Sunbin Young. He is 7th, Yun is 11th, because 300s behind him are Axel JunkerGER and Christopher Groothair, 400s behind him Gwang Wang CHN, and 700s behind him Sunbin Young.
This was a little bit wild here on the exit at turn 9. He's going to get picked up on the end. We'll see he's out of the corner, and there's still corner left. We see him get picked up. That's some energy going the wrong way. And that might have contributed to this speed efficiency at the bottom, but I think that white stuff falling from the sky had more of an impact, as it really looked like it started to open up right as he launched off the block.
Well, if it did, then he may well be the lucky dog. Vladislav Harkov of the Ukraine is next up, 17th of our starters. And the snow continues to fall. A little bit of mass won't hurt him. 19th place last time out. His best World Cup result here is an 11th place finish, though.
5:13 getaway. Vlad also one of those guys that's known not necessarily for his work on the start ramp, but for his work down the track. They say, you know, push for show, throw down for dough. Vlad really emphasizes the throwing down.
Well, he's hot off his best ever World Cup result, which came last weekend, 6th place in Sigulda, beat his previous best at any track, 6th best speed in the Kreisel. That's what he wants to feel.
4th fastest speed at the bottom.
Whoa, here we go.
Here he comes. Up to 10th.
Well, whatever his setup on his Schneider sled, he is absolutely motoring. Half a second back, chips out of the top 10, but it'll be a top 12 result. And at the line, he is 11th. So we now have from Gassner in 6th to Sunbin Young in 12th. That is a 10th of a second. There are going to be some major changes in the second heat.
Yeah, with a couple of ties in there. So yeah, we're going to play snakes and ladders, which is always fun in Winterberg. keeps it exciting.
Best result here, 11th. He currently lies 11th.
Really solid run there from Vlad. I mean, especially with the snowfall. You see at the start and at the bottom how much it's falling, but he's super relaxed all the way down the hill, and that was, I think that's about as good as he could have expected or wanted to do there, given the conditions. He's happy. He doesn't hide his emotions well, so he's happy.
He's often happy. Amadeo Banius next up. 14th World Cup start for the young Italian, his third here. His best World Cup results have been 3 11th places, and one of those was here on his World Cup debut in January 2020. So let's see if he's in that tight-knit pack again.
492, good getaway, but we see he got hung up on the exit at corner 0, comes out and clips that wall. That is something that's going to make it difficult to maintain speed.
Second best velocity though, and that is the second fastest start of the competition so far.
Let's check his split here, third on the ranks. He was only 100th of a second back on that first intermediate checkpoint, so he's got a hot run go, but only 15th speed. That's not gonna help.
That is not gonna help, so the gap goes out from 800s to 2500s, 12th best speed, or 5th worst.
Him and his teammate, Matthias Gaspari, trying to walk up the 2 sleds for the games. 13th fastest speed through the finish corner, but man, look at the snow.
But
nice.
Look at the position.
6th
place.
Wow.
Yeah.
Great run. He will be pumped with that.
Second fastest start, third fastest start, I beg your pardon, and the 6th best run from the 22-year-old. His previous best result on this track, Amadeo, 11th position. So even if he slips 3 or 4 spots in the second heat, he will do extremely well here.
That's what the fun thing is about some of these snow races. You never know, but that didn't have anything to do with snow. He threw down an absolute burner. I was critical here. He comes out of corner 0 and clips that right wall, but it was not as bad as it could have been, and he does a good job of maintaining his speed.
Yeah, otherwise it might have been a top 3 or a top 4. He's actually 500ths off 4th place Vladislav Seminole. So that's a heck of a run from Amadeo Banius. 19th starter in our field of 29, Yang Wengang of China, tied for 9th place in the last race here in December. This is his 3rd World Cup here. 13th in January 2020, and then 9th in December 21. So that's the progress of a season and a half, even if most of it was spent on home ice in China.
Now, there are worse things to do right before the Olympics than post up on the Olympic track and get experience. Second fastest speed coming out of corner 0. That's a good way to get the party started here in Winterberg. Yeah, the Chinese definitely looking for a good showing going into the games. They have a lot of momentum. Their program is fantastic, especially on the guys' side. They have a chance to be very competitive. Only 300ths of a second out of the lead right now from Yan, 4th fastest speed in Kreisel, and he has a run going. 10th fastest speed through the 9 section.
Does a tiny fresh frosting of snow actually make the ice faster under the runners? No, maybe not. 14th best speed, but 4th at the line. That is a storming run from Yang Wengang. He is 200ths off the tie for silver.
Well, that answers the question. The track's fair. There's no question. Even with the snow, there's a great track. Track crew here has done an excellent job. But we've seen the last 2 sleds, 18th and 19th sleds off with a little bit of snow, having an opportunity to fight for medals. So as an athlete, you can't ask for much more than that. That's an opportunity. But a great run, especially in the top of the track. And yeah, it's the reason he's sitting in 4th and only 200ths of a second out of 2nd.
Oh, that's astonishing, isn't it, really? That's a heck of a run. Well, his previous best on this track, 9th place. His previous best anywhere, 7th in St. Moritz a couple of seasons ago. So punching way above his previous weight, Yang Wengang. And again, just look at the body, just like jello on the sled. That's what you want to see, super relaxed. Matteo Gaspari of Italy, his young teammate, currently lies in 7th place. Matteo won't start gangbusters like Amadeo does, a legacy of that Achilles tear a few years ago, but he does have experience here. This is his 6th World Cup start on this track.
Like I said, with his teammates, they're trying to lock up the 2 sleds for the games. They're in pretty good position right now.
One of the best result here. Yeah, absolutely. Best result here, 15th place, and in 5 previous World Cup races, that is the only time he made the cut. So this is a
12th right now on the splits, 10th fastest speed. So that looks
Here we
good.
go.
The trend is in the right direction.
Well, right now, unless he crashes badly, he is making the cut for the 2nd time in 6 starts. And 8th best speed at the bottom, top 10 though, 15th of the line, 57.89.
That should see him in the field.
Well, do you know what that is? That is 100th behind Sunbin Young, a winner here twice in the last 5 years. That's
100th behind Yoon, but it's only a 10th behind 8th. That's how tight the midfield is here.
Yeah,
best of the
that's
rest.
that massive battle. Yeah, from Gassner on, well, from Banyas now, no, Gassner on back. 8th down to, where are we with Matia? 15th. That's a 10th of a second. That 1/10 is covering more and more sleds now as we go. All right, well, find out what your teammate did and do a bit more of that. Axel Tretiakov, the leader, from Martins and Thomas Dukurs, and then Gwang Wang in 4th place rather. So 20 sleds down, the field is full. In his 3rd World Cup start, Alexander Shlintner trying to do what he's had to try and do before, which is break into the top 20. His only previous World Cup starts were in Sigulda. Raced here in the Junior Worlds in 2020, though. He's had 3 Europa Cup starts on the track as well.
5:09 getaway, a little bit of a rough load there. I didn't know if he was going to get his hand out from underneath him. But Shlintner really looking for, you know, kind of that 15 range. He would love to not just make the cut here, but solidly make the cut. He's letting it fly up top, hanging it up a bit there on the exit of turn 4. A little clip there to 6, so he's got to get it together a bit. 20th fastest speed. We know the track has speed in it. So he just needs to be cool, calm, and collected for the bottom 3rd of the track here and let the sled build speed. Still only 20th fastest speed. He's fallen to 18th on the splits.
Yeah, he was up to 13th on the splits early on out of corner 5. So that lack of speed in the sled. He didn't dare set it up aggressively enough. In 19th place, 17th best speed. And on the bubble right now and out of the race right now is Andr Mornville. So no second heat for Andr, but Lawrence Bostock now on the bubble with Alexander Shlintner just 1 sled in front. That is not a guaranteed second heat.
Yeah, there's some firepower still to come. But let's watch him here on the start ramp, see what happened in the load. He was really aggressive onto the sled. He almost popped it. That is a great way to pop the groove here. You watch the front of the sled's going to pick up when his knees hit. And almost comes out. Popping a wheelie on a skeleton sled on the start ramp is a great way to go backwards into turn 1. So he got away with one, hangs it up there. I believe that's the exit of 5 into 6, and then really let it fly. I love the commitment on the exit of the finish corner. He knew he had to let it go.
Yeah. Well, you learn lessons here, and that is one of them. Next up, 10th World Cup race for Andrew Blaser of the USA. Only 1 of those World Cup starts was here. That was in January 2020, and that is his only race experience here in Winterberg. So best result here, 22nd place in that race.
5:11 getaway, not a great start there, but he does a nice job of managing the speed. 8th fastest speed through corner 0, so he does something right. Off an 18th fastest start, he manages a little bit of speed there.
Well, 13th on the splits. When he raced here before, it was his previous World Cup season, and that was his first season in Europe, so all the tracks were brand new to him. 16th best speed, he is moving up. This is a top 12 run as of now.
Nice looking run there. A little early in 9, not the end of the world though. Back to 17th on the splits.
Yeah, 19th best speed. So the top half was very good. The bottom half is a little ragged. 17th, could see him in the race ahead of JeanJacques. Boof, no, he's behind him. But 1.08 seconds out. I'm not sure if anybody a second out is going to get into the race, but we will wait and see. So he is in, and Lawrence Bostock, who was our first starter, is out.
Andrew had a little bit of a rough run through the middle. He was off in just a couple of spots, hanging the sled up on the end of corners. But he did a pretty good job up top, and that helped him out, especially driving it from 18th back to 13th, and it just slipped back at the end. You see there, exit turn 13. Really rough transition there. Pops his shoulder off the sled. And then here,
only previous race was here 2 years ago. And Greg, you know what it's like when you don't have track experience. It's you need that repetition to get the experience to know the lines well. Next up, Ben Fulker for Great Britain. 3rd World Cup start for him. Started in Innsbruck in November 2020, and here in January 21. He's been on the ICC trail this year as well. So gets a 3rd World Cup start opportunity, 5:14.
Good getaway there from Ben. 20th fastest start, 15th fastest speed through corner 0, so he did something right through there. Looks like it has stopped snowing, so that's going to help some of these guys coming late in the field. It's going to help their cause. Each person that goes in front of you is a snowblower, just a little bit more. 4th fastest speed going into Kreisel. Case and point.
All right. Good looking Kreisel. That pushes him up to 12th place. Don't forget, Andrew Mornville was 13th at that spot, and it all drifted away. But he is holding on to the speed. 11th best speed. His teammate Lawrence Bostock started 4:95, didn't make the field. Ben Fulker, 12th, he is in.
Yeah, he'll be pumped with that.
Yeah, that is a huge run for Ben Fulker.
And off the
previous World
20th
Cup
fastest start, he did it the hard way.
Yeah, he was 12th in Eagles. He was 14th here on his previous 2 World Cup races. And he is currently lying in 12th place, tied with Gwang Wang CHN.
This is one of the better drives we've seen all day. If you can drive yourself from the 20th fastest start time to top 12 run, you did your job. Yeah, he's pumped, and he should be.
Well, he's tied with Gwang, who went off 5th. He's gone off 23rd, so there is still life in the track. Next up, Blakeenzi, a World Cup debutant last week, 20 years old, one of 2 20-year-olds in the field. He is older by 1 month and 16 days. So has raced here in ICC and the Junior Worlds in 2020. His 2nd ever World Cup race. He was 20th in Sigulda, so he'd love to make the cut here as well.
15th fastest start, 15th fastest speed, a little abrupt through corner 0. But yeah, really good result last week. Happy to see him make the cut. First time you do that is always, that's a big deal. It is so hard to do that on the World Cup too. People do not understand how good this group is.
Well, it is either him or Jung of Korea who will make it through. Jung's best result here is a 9th place, 11th in the race in December, and right now in danger of not making the race. Blakeenzi dropping to 20th place. The speed is a little better. Is he in or is he out?
Seems to be super smooth through 13th, 14th here. Only the 20th fastest speed, but he's 19th on the splits. It's going to be close. 19th.
He's in, and he is ahead of Andrew Blaser, who is now in 20th place. So he is in the race right now. apart from Russia, Germany, Bobs, Latvia and Korea, what other nation has taken even one medal here since 2006? Hands up, everybody.
Ken Childs, tweet your answer.
It's Canada. John
Dave
Montgomery,
Grzeszy?
silver medalist here in 2007. Dave Grzeschin's only World Cup medal, bronze here, 17-18.
I remember that. I was at that race, I believe.
Yeah, you were. We all remember that. And Grizz is at the top coaching as well this weekend. So I'm sure he is loving coming back here. Pint in the Black Rock pub, you know, all of that kind of Winterberg. And then he's got his young slider or another young Canadian in the field. So we have 24 sleds down, 5 to go. This is Ronald Ardeset of Switzerland. 52nd World Cup race for him, his 7th here. He did the World Championships here in 2015 as well, which I think is probably where we first met him. Last time out was his best result though, 17th placed finish. He's got a good start.
Yeah, fastest start, 495. That's going to help your cause. Fastest speed of the competition through corner 0, Ronald Ardeset. That's how you say, all right, let's go. He's in the lead at the moment by 200th of a second.
All right, Ronnie.
That's the way you do it.
So Andr Blaza of the USA is the man on the bubble. Right now, just 400s back. I'm going to put this into perspective. Best ever race result for Ronald Ardeset in World Cup. 10th place in Innsbruck in 2020. Best result here, 17th. He is top 6 right now.
9th on the time charts now. He's going to be in the field by far. The question is, 9th. Oh, top 10 run from Ronnie. There you go.
Place. Great. 100th behind Alexander Gassner. That is a phenomenal run. Yeah.
Don't beat up the sled. It just helped you out.
17th, his previous best here. 9th in the first heat. Wow, Ronnie.
Wow. Oh, yeah.
Wow.
I'm just happy for this guy. He works so hard on his craft, and you just hear him yelling over the ambient noise there. That's great. But yeah, just a great run, great start. Not much to pick apart, especially when you're going off 25th and you have him down with a top 10 run. Couldn't be more happy for him.
Some of the biggest quads in the business. Ronald Ardeset, what a great first run. Now, plenty to build on there. Okay, so he is in and Andr Blaza is out. On the bubble now, Blakeenzi, Alexander Tretiakov, our runaway leader. 26 starter, Great Britain's Craig Thompson should get away gangbusters. Is he sub 5? Yes, he is, 4.89.
Ties for the fastest start of the competition. We kind of expect that. Has the fastest speed. So once again, track still has some line fitted up top. But Greg's nemesis is everything that happens after that first corner. He's got to be super smooth here and see if he can maintain it. He's up 1300ths of a second at the moment, falling back to 10th up. He's got a chance, but only 21st fastest speed in the Kreisel.
Yeah, took that hit from 5 into 6. That doesn't help. So he is behind the leader, down to 4th, where we find Yang Wengang of China.
Pretty smooth here at the bottom, though. He needs a really nice 12, 13, 14 here if he wants to change 24th fastest speed. So he's falling like a rock at the moment.
Well, he's in the race, and Blakeenzi is out, but only just.
Wow.
Right, from leading out of corner 5 to 18th at the bottom without a crash.
I mean, here's his split progression. First, 4th, 11th, 18th. So
I was about to say, when he was doing well at the top, that we've been ragging on the Blackrock sleds all season, seeing how they're giving away the speed. They are giving away the speed.
Yeah, I mean, that's definitely, there's a couple of small things here, but to drop, 18 spots like that.
Yeah, you take the clocks off, and it was a top 10 run.
Absolutely. I mean, like I said, little things here. You hung up there on the exit of 9. That's not bad. In fact, some say that's the fast line because you don't have to steer as much. He's relaxed. You don't see elbows out. You don't see random toes.
Now, of course, he is 1100ths away from 8th. That's how tight this midfield pack is. Saskatoon, Saskatchewan. You won't see the Tash because that has gone, but you will see Evan Neufeld of Canada. And Mark Wood reminds me that the Canadian winner here in 2001's World Cup race is here as well coaching. That would be Jeff Payne. 9th World Cup start for Evan Neufeld, his 2nd World Cup since Pyeongchang in March 2017. A little bit of a bounce off the 0 curve.
A little bit of bounce and then a kind of a wonky line in the corner 2 there. A lot of waves. That means he covered a lot of distance in corner 2. That cost him about 1/10 of a second just by the larger waves.
Well,
just a little off from Evan up here. He's clipping into a couple of corners, only 25 fastest speed, and we're seeing, once again, more waves in the Kreisel. Really needs to get it dialed here at the bottom of the track if he wants a chance to make the field. 23rd on the splits.
Hasn't raced here for about half a dozen years. Raced in the World Championships in 2015. Oh, rocking and rolling at the bottom of the track, though, and at the line. 51.11 leaves him in 25th spot, so he and Blakeenzi are both out. And again, we go back to what we talk about time and time again. It is experience of the track that is absolutely critical. You can't learn these things by just looking at it. You've got to feel those pressures.
Yeah, and that's the subtlety of Winterberg is cannot be overstated, but it just seemed like that he was a little off all the way down. It started in turn 1, and once you set the rhythm of the track a little bit off, it is incredibly hard to get it back. And it just looked like he fought it all the way down the track. It was a practice run that slipped into the race. I've been there, man. It's you wish you had it back.
Yeah, well, that one is not going to earn him a second heat. Right now on the bubble, JeanJacques of Switzerland, our 2nd starter. We've got 2 sleds to go. Youngest man in the field, born on the 18th of October 2001, Rin Kinoshita of Japan. 22nd here in December. That was his World Cup debut. Raced last week in Sigulda.
Look at that start time, though, 4:89. That'll help.
Yeah.
No bump on the exit of turn 2, but if you're pushing in 480s, you can afford that.
Well, every coach will say, bring me a starter and I'll give you a slider. 489 is what Tretiakov, the race leader, started in, so that's where he is. Boof.
Big clip there. That's not going to help. Only 27 fastest speed going through Kreisel. That's indicative of that big hit. So now he's got work to do. He's already back to 9th in the splits from tying for the fastest start. Another hit going into turn 9. He's got to get tucked up and get it back together here in 11 if he wants to have a chance. He's down to 21st on the splits.
You probably never saw Axel Tretiakov in his first season or 2. This is exactly what it looked like. Fastest start in the field, more hits than Elvis on the way down. But you learn how to feel the ice. You learn how to work with the pressures. You learn the lines by repetition. And look where Tretiakov is now, 20 years in. If this kid stays around with the power he's got at the start and clearly the bravery he's got, I mean, look at these lines, then he's got a big future.
Big hit there right before Kreisel, and then here on the exit of Kreisel, gets picked up a little bit on the end. And he's going to come over, and he doesn't clip there going into, I believe that's 8. But definitely a rough run, but a big future ahead of him if he can figure that out.
Yeah. 20 and the equal fastest starter in the field. Now then, Austin Florian, our final starter. It is him or JeanJacques Bouffe. So the 2nd starter or the 29th starter. And we think there is speed in the track. 5th World Cup start here. He was 19th, 18th, 15th, and then 30th, last in the field in December.
He popped the groove in December. Looks like he's got a better chance on the start, though. The snow has stopped.
Here we go.
Austin has a chance to drive it in here. 495. Good start for him.
Yeah.
Austin needs a result. Second fastest speed through corner 0, so he's got something going here. I've gone on record saying Austin has had some of the worst luck I have ever seen this season.
Hello.
He just needs to put down a number.
Tied with the leader. This is a big run potentially for Austin Florian. 1100s back. This is still potentially a top 10 run. Only the 16th best speed. Now, has he gone for survival and control rather than ultimate speed? And will he change the rock in the second heat to try and move up the order? He's in the top 10 right now.
12th in the split's a little rough there. He's going to be in the field.
Yes, he is. He's in, and JeanJacques is out, and he is 18. So it came down just to the last couple of hundreds.
That's what he needed. He needed that so bad.
Yes, absolutely. Pew, pew, pew.
Mask in there.
Just to have some fun there. That's what he needed.
Yeah.
He needed a second heat, and now he can pin his ears back because you know you're not going to drop out of the top 20. He is fighting really hard to qualify a second sled for the U.S. right now. And a result today will definitely help his cause, and then he gets to go to St. Moritz, which is one of his favorite tracks in the world. But that 4:95 start time really helped.
1200s out of 8th. So 8th to 18th now. Gassner to Austin Florian, 1200ths of a second. Craig Thompson, 19, 1300ths out of 8th. What a crazy race we have on our hands here in Winterberg. Who'd have thought it, producing the odd, bizarre result? Well, that is our first heat done, and the weather remaining good. We should get a second. Axel Tretiakov is not just the leader, he murdered everybody. Hello, police, there's been a crime. He leads by 2600ths over Martins and Thomas Dukurs, who are tied for silver. Yan Wengang of China, 200ths behind them in 4th. And what about Seminole and Cherkov? There's a battle of the Russians. And then Amadeo Banyas, sort of no man's land, but from Alexander Gassner in 8th down to 19th, Craig Thompson, 1300ths of a second. Sammy Meyer makes it in by the skin of his teeth. And how far behind? Well, actually a degree behind JeanJacques, and then Blakeenzi Andrew Blaser, Jung Seungi, Alexander Shlintner, Rin Kinoshita, Evan Neufeld, Lawrence Bostock, and Andr Mornville will all have to watch the second heat from the sidelines. You can join Greg West, me, Martin Haven, and the IBSF TV crew to do the same back at 11:45 local, 10:45 GMT. That is 05:45 Eastern. Breakfast, lunch, coffee, whatever you need. Don't miss the second heat. This could be a real humdinger. We'll see you then.
Performance of the